It's 10 o'clock. It's time for the council to be in session. Will the council members please come to the council chamber? We have Mr. Holden, Mr. Miskowski, and Mrs. Walters here. It is 15 minutes after 10, and we have 9 members present. We need one for a quorum. We have Mr. Burnson, Mrs. Chick. We have a quorum. Call the roll. Council will please come to order.
Alacon, Alatorre, Burnson, Chick, Fuhrer, Galanter, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Miskowski, Ridley Thomas, Sabornis, Wax, Walters, Ferraro. 10 council members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Will the council please come to order? This is a meeting of the City Council for the City of Los Angeles on the 3rd day of March, 1998. There are 15 council districts in this city. The regular meeting days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We are currently being viewed by cable subscribers throughout the Los Angeles area on Channel 35, and we're also being monitored by council phone. The first order of business.
Salute to the flag and the invocation.
Okay, would everyone please stand and then remain standing? We will have the Pledge of Allegiance, which is customary on the first meeting of the month, and then we will have Reverend Oliver Brown representing the Westminster Presbyterian Church and the Presbyterian Community of Los Angeles as the invocation. Mr. Holden, would you lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance?
Place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend Oliver Brown.
To the God of these distinguished council persons and all those who are assembled in this room, we acknowledge your presence with thanks, and we ask that you continue to give the wisdom of Solomon to our council persons, our leaders, that they will know what to do and how to do it, that Los Angeles, the city of angels, will continue to be second to none. Empower them with your spirit and with your courage and with your boldness, that they will be the guardians of every person's dignity. Father God, we would also ask that you would give our mayor and his delegation traveling mercies and safe arrivals back home. This we pray to the God of our council persons and all those who are assembled in this room. Amen.
Okay, the first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Burnson moves, Mrs. Chick seconds. There's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
If there's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Items 1 through 8, Mr. President, are required public hearings.
Do we have some we're going to continue?
Yes, you have several, Mr. President. 1 and 2, there's been a request to continue those to March the 18th.
Is there any objections to continue 1 and 2 to March 18th? Seeing none, that'll be the order.
3, 4, and 5 continue to March the 11th.
Any objections to continue until March 11th? Seeing none, that'll be the order.
And item 6 continue to April the 3rd.
No. Continue until April 3rd? Okay. Item number 6, continue until April 3rd. There's no objections. That'll be the order.
The next hearing item is 7. It's a continued hearing, protest street vacation in Council District 4.
Do we have anybody that wants to be heard on item number 7? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Is there any discussion on 7?
I need a motion from the floor to approve the vacation and instruct the city engineer to proceed.
Mrs. Chick moves. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item.
Item 8 is the last of the hearing items. This is a continued hearing, Planning and Land Use Management Committee report, mitigated negative declaration resolution, and an ordinance first reading.
Item number 8 will hold on the desk. Next item.
Items 9 through 23 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Are there any specials by council members? 23 is called special. Any other specials? Any other specials? If not, prepare the roll on 9 through 22. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. 23 is on the desk. Next item. 9 and 10 forthwith.
14 and 17?
11, 14, and 17.
No, 11 through 14 and 17.
Okay, 11 through 14 and 17 forthwith. Okay, the next item.
Items 24 through 44 are items for which public hearings have not been held.
Okay, we have people who want to be heard on 24, 24, 40, and 41. Anybody want to be heard on any of the other items? 24 through 44, with the exception of 24, 40, and 41. Anybody want to be heard on any of the other items? If not, the public hearing is closed. Any specials? You want 31 continued 1 week? Well, let's hold it on the desk, and you can. 31 is called special. All right. Any other specials by council members? We have items 24 through 44, with the exception of 24, 31, 40, and 41. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the
12 ayes.
Tabulate the vote. Yeah, 39 we'll call special too. Okay. Huh? Next item.
Item 8 called special.
Mr. Wax,
Yes, Mr. President, the motion, you're in my motion, we have an amending motion being distributed. If it's
8A.
on there, I would just move it as amended by 8A.
any objections to 8A? Well,
It's some additional traffic mitigation measures that the developers have agreed to subsequent to the planning, to the Plum report, and we're all in agreement on that.
okay. All right, there's no objections to
Across the
8.
street,
There's no
Joint
objections to 8A, so now we have 8 as amended. Prepare the roll on 8 as amended. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith on that. Next item.
They're waiting for the chief of police to be here on item 23, Mr. President. 24 would be the next item called special.
And I want to go first on 23.
Leonard Shapiro wants to be heard on 24.
Mr. President and council members, item 24 concerns the Emergency Operations Organization, EOC, that you're going to spend $180,000 of total funds that you got left after the donations that were made to the City Council to fix up the 911 facilities in the EOC in the 4th floor beneath the city streets in City Hall East. I think there's several other ways and places that you could spend this money more effectively and have it have a bigger impact. And one of the things that you could do is make room for those 24 or 25 consoles that you have in the 5th level beneath the city streets, which are just sitting away and been rotting there for the last 3 years. Do something with them or return them to the people who sold them to you. And then another fiasco you've got down there in the 911 headquarters that you're trying to primp up a little bit. You have a fire department that for 6.5 years has been attempting to get a control room that could be meaningful. At the present time, they're working out of very cramped quarters sitting right on top of one another with small, outdated equipment and barely making, and the job that they do under these conditions is remarkable. There's no reason why you can't take this $180,000 that you're spending on just making side rooms, that you're going to have organizations like the Caltrans and the Highway Patrol and other functional EOC workspace use. Give it to the fire department. Tell them to fix up that room. Get a control room. Get the thing done. 6.5 years is much too long to get a reasonable, up-to-date 911 facilities for our fire department, Mr. President.
Okay, we have item 24. Is there any discussion on 24?
A motion from the floor to adopt the CAO recommendations.
All right. Mr. Fuhr moves. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved.
How you doing? All right, no, not bowling. Ooh.
Next item.
31 called special by Councilmember Holden.
Mr. Holden, you call 31 special?
2 weeks.
Huh?
Continue for 2 weeks.
Mr. Holden wants to continue 31 2 weeks. Is there any objection to that? Seeing none, the matter is continued.
March 17th.
Next item.
39 called special. A card was submitted.
Mr. Shapiro.
My concern is, they said when they first came in,
Mr. President, you don't know how nice it is to see your smiling face on the head table again. I thought you'd be enjoying yourself in Asia right now. I'm talking on item 39, which has got to do with setting up a community redevelopment agency, CRA, project down in Rudy Savornich's office of the 15th District in San Pedro. Your office is in control. Over the past 12 months, the item states here, the CRA staff has worked. Well, the point is, what is CRA? What are they doing? How do they finance all these projects? There's no question that you can use a revitalization of the Pacific Coast Corridor, just like we can use a revitalization of Skid Row down here in L.A. But they've been trying for 4 years to revitalize Skid Row and they haven't done it. But now the CRA is going to revitalize Pacific Avenue Corridor. I think there's other ways to do it besides taking a mortgage on the property taxes that you're going to collect over the next 30 years and say we're going to take it from the people without a vote. I say the way to involve the people on a deal like this that Rudy Savornich is doing right now in San Pedro is to say this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to revitalize this Pacific Avenue corridor. This is how we're going to revitalize everything in the immediate area. And we want the people to vote on it. Let's have a regular vote and have a bond issue. Let's not do the sneaky CRA tactics where they can work it in and they can get this thing passed without a vote of the people, without the people understanding what's happening. They did it downtown. They mortgaged us to the hilt with $750 million. We got $600 million left that we still got to pay for the next 30 years to make sure that these skyscrapers got away with it. Are you going to do the same thing down in San Pedro? I say CRA has got to be outlawed in the state, and it's got to be stopped. And there's no reason for anybody to use CRA tactics to build and revitalize anything in the city of Los Angeles. Mr. President.
Okay, that's item 31. Is there any discussion on, or is it 39? 39. Any discussion on 39? If not, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
And that is approved. Next item.
40 called special. Card submitted.
Mr. Shapiro.
Mr. President, you put me on right after the other. Doesn't anybody in the council have something to say about some of these things? You know, if I was sitting on the council and a guy like me came up here and made all these comments, critical comments about things, I sure as hell would answer him. On item number 40, you're talking about Prop 226, which I agree with Richard Alarcon that it's coming on the June 98 ballot and it's an anti-worker initiative. The point is that before you can spend any money from a union on any political campaign, any political candidate, you have to get the vote of all your members and make sure nobody objects and give them a chance to object. I'd say if you were really insistent on doing something like this, good. Why don't you have the same thing applied to corporations? No corporation can make any donation and spend any money unless it has a vote and the okay of all its stockholders. Well, then if you did that, I would say at least you're being consistent. You're not just hitting the unions, you hit the corporations at the same time. Or you can have this apply to any organization. No organization can donate any money to any political campaign unless everybody has been given a proper chance to object. I think Prop 226 is as Alarcon says, it's made to deprive the labor unions of a powerful tool. And since they're not consistent, since the people who make this motion are not making it apply to corporations, are not making it apply to other organizations, then I say, yes, go along and pass this thing. I'm in favor of you passing this thing right now.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. Any discussion on 40? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 aye, 2 no.
That is approved. Next item,
41 called special. Cards were submitted.
Mr. Shapiro.
That guy, we had to pass a
This
rule.
is Leonard Shapiro.
That's it.
I'm a community watchdog. I'm a gadfly, and I guess today I'm the only one representing the public. Item
What do you think we're doing, Mr. Shapiro?
You're doing it. You are the best city council that money could buy. Nobody can buy me.
Yeah.
Item number 4.
No one wants to hire you, that's why.
Well, we don't buy me because
Well, you read my column in the 4 papers that I'm writing for.
I heard all your remarks last week when I was gone, Mr. Shapiro. I heard all those remarks.
Well, good. I'm glad to see that you're back here in fine form again. In 1990, the city of Los Angeles established a program to reduce city worker trips. And then the Daily News came out with an editorial saying this thing isn't working the way it's supposed to. The people who have taken the time to get together and share rides are paying more money than an individual person who is going with his own car, parking it in a given place and continuing that way. So at least Mr. Alarcon again got up there and said, the newspaper report said you're favoring single occupancy vehicle trips, and this policy is irresponsible. I couldn't agree with him more. So you're looking into it. I'm in favor of you looking into it. I think it's a great idea. And I think Richard has got a good idea right here. If the policy is set up that it penalizes the people who are trying to cooperate with you, well, change the policy. You're going to sit down, have a meeting, and have this report submitted back to you in 45 days, although I don't know why it's got to take them that long. But if the bureaucrats take 45 days to do it, God bless them. Come back with a decent report. Show us how the city can implement a good program and have a program that'll do what it's designed to do. Save people making trips down so I don't have to take an hour and 15 minutes to get here every Tuesday. Mr. President.
Mr. Hernandez.
You know, again, I understood what Mr. Shapiro said, and
I'm glad you did.
well, all I know is he was commending us, commending Mr. Alarcon for looking at the transit policy in terms of ride sharing and so forth. There was something I just want to point out. I pointed it out before, but for some reason the city hasn't been able to grapple with the issue of parking for city employees downtown. And I did want to point it out that because of the CATS legislation, it requires the city to either compensate that employee the full amount of their parking versus providing them the spot so that the employee can make a choice. Well, when employees are parking on 6th and Main, we are paying $100 per spot. If they park in another lot like by Alameda, they're paying $15 per spot. But that is also a benefit to the employee that should be reported on the W-4 form. Now, I'm explaining it because we have not approached parking from that perspective in terms of a benefit. And I think that because it's city employees, we tend to be reluctant to do that. But there's no question that the legislation is going to force us to do one or the other. And so I think that looking at parking for city employees as to what is an equitable program, because in some instances you're going to find us providing parking and paying a high premium for that parking because someone is playing the role of a city clerk or the role of a clerk in an office, and versus someone being a city attorney playing the role of an attorney, depending on where the location of the city building is. And so that's why I think the IRS would determine it to be a benefit, and we need to look at that particular part of the policy. And I just wanted to make the motion to the maker aware of it, that they should be looking at that inequity, because there is an inequity there when you look at it as a benefit.
Okay, anyone else want to be heard on 41? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item,
23, called special.
is the... Okay, 23 is called special. I do want to point out that how many hearings have you had, Mrs. Chick?
We've had way too many for my satisfaction. However, in the last meeting, there were 3 people who filled out cards who we were not able to hear from. And I would like to move a 5-minute hearing to allow those people to speak if they have filled out cards. I know that one has, Ava Donor. I don't know if the other 2 had. They were representatives from Erickson.
Any objections to a 5-minute public hearing? Ava Donor and Vivian Shimayama. Ava Donor, if you want to be heard, you better step up there to the microphone. We only have 5 minutes now. Let's not forget that.
I'm Ava Donor, and I'm the owner of Engineering Associates, which is a drafting service. In 1995, Motorola asked me to be on their team for this, for the contract. I am not here to stop the contract. I'm not here to delay it. We do need this service. I am here to point out something to you council members that has been happening far too often to too many of our women-owned, minority-owned, and small businesses. And it's called substitution. It is a method used by some of the large companies in which to make changes at the very last. They get the contract, it's approved, they have their team, and then at the last moment, after we have waited for almost 2 years, we're unceremoniously dropped from the contract. I was dropped, another LKG company was dropped, both of them women, and I was substitute for my company. At this time,
Miss, I want to remind you there's 5 minutes for everybody.
I will step forward and do something about it. Now, we are hesitant about stepping forward because, of course, we realize it's very dangerous to our companies. And at this moment, I would like to vindicate my company because at the first meeting, Motorola said that they substituted me because my amount had been $480,000. They'd cut it down to $189,000, and they knew I wouldn't want it.
All right.
Now, they didn't ask me. May I just say one sentence? The next time, they came forth and said my company was totally incompetent, unable to do the work, and this has been very damaging. And it just proves that if we do speak up, it is very dangerous. Thank you.
Vivian Shimayama, and then Megan Doherty.
Vivian Shimoyama, and I'm the president of the National Association of Women Business Owners Los Angeles chapter. And we are here as a group of people in support of Ava Donor, as a woman business owner, as a small business owner, and a person who is coming forward and standing in front of you because of what we call substitution. And this goes on, it's been going on for years, but there are a few individuals who will come forward and stand forward with large corporations to say what we're looking for is opportunities of inclusion. Inclusion in the process to be able to do business within not only the public sector, but the private sector, and to make sure that we're included in a good faith effort. Ava Donor has been in business for over 38 years. She is a model business in our community, and we are here to support and make sure that she gets every consideration for her contract. I want Ava to be able to introduce the people who are here to support her.
All right, thank you. Megan Doherty.
Hi, my name is Megan Doherty. I'm the president of the Women's Transportation Coalition in Los Angeles. We're very closely aligned with projects related to the MTA and city public projects. I am here to support Ava Donor and I won't spend any more time. I'll let someone else speak. Thank you.
Wendy Anderson.
Hi, I'm Wendy Anderson. I was the past board member of the Women's Transportation Seminar and still am a current member and committee member, and I'm just here to support Ava Donor.
Okay, Adrian Dove.
I'm Adrian Dove with the Congress of Racial Equality and formerly with the Mayor's Office of Small Business. And I came in particular to support the inclusion of Ava Donor and to speak to the competence of her firm. If there's any question as to the competence, we have direct experience of her extremely high competence.
Deborah Courtright. Deborah Courtright.
Yes, good morning. I would like to specifically address these issues that have been brought to your attention this morning. We've been through this several times before, very briefly. Regarding Engineering Associates, they were indeed replaced by another women-owned business enterprise that is Caltrans certified by the name of DC Designs. The scope of work was reduced during negotiations between Motorola and the City of Los Angeles. There's been no mention whatsoever of an additional WBE firm that we have added on to the list of subcontractors by the name of Iger Communications. We are subcontracting $65,000 to them as well. Regarding LKG, as I've stated previously, their services were also eliminated during negotiations with the City of Los Angeles for configuration management. Thank you.
Marcia Brown. Yeah, go ahead. I'm trying to.
Good morning. My name is Marcia Brown. I'm the chair of the Transportation Business Advisory Council, as also vice president of BayPAC Los Angeles chapter. And we are asking that our city council people who we have elected stop this type of substitution. This is why, this is what 209 was all about. And this is why voting no on 209 was important. Now these types of things are happening because of the 209 issue. So we're asking you to take a very good look at this thing. You heard what the other people said. It's not the truth. The whole situation needs to be examined, and we are here to support Ava Donor. Thank you.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. That's all the cards we have. Mrs. Chick, did you want to be heard? Press your button. Mrs. Chick, press your button.
Mr. President and colleagues, it has been several months of intense scrutiny of the contract that is now before us asking for approval in Public Safety Committee. I am here today asking several things. One, that we receive and file the Budget and Finance Committee report. This went through Budget and Finance very, very quickly before it came to Public Safety Committee. And in Public Safety Committee, we engaged with all of the related departments and city staff to come back to you with recommendations that were responsible. I cannot tell you that I have great comfort in recommending that we go forward and vote yes on this contract. I did vote yes in Public Safety Committee. I am intending to vote yes again today. But that decision is based very predominantly on Chief Parks and our General Manager of ITA Department and others, our City Attorney, our CAO, making very clear comments and recommendations that if we do not move forward and begin and complete the work of this FOC contract, that it will result in very potential further problems and denigrations with our current 911 system. And I know we need to improve and replace that system. But I have had many concerns about the contract and the process, just one of which you just heard about today, and that was the removal of 2 women-owned contractors who were on the original contract that the council approved in 1996. I do want to clarify for the record that one of the firms was replaced by DC Designs, which is in fact certified with Caltrans. I had misinformation in the last Public Safety Committee, but they are not certified with the city, and they are a San Diego-based firm, not a Los Angeles-based firm as the one we just heard from. What we have before us is making very strong recommendations that I fervently believe we need to put in place that brings more coordinated, responsible, accountable teamwork oversight. And it is bringing us into sync with a policy we recently put into place to have oversight committees on all bond-funded capital projects in the city, such as the City Hall seismic project and police facilities Prop 2. I am suggesting that one minor change is made, and this is predominantly at the request of the police department. On the committee report recommendation item B, 3B, wait, this is 23B, I'm sorry, it's 3B. I would like to change the wording to say obtain concurrence of the Technical Steering Committee prior to approval of change orders involving Prop M funds over the amount of $50,000 or more, or when any significant changes to the scope of the contract are required on this and all other current and future Prop M funded contracts. What we have done in working on the steering committee is we have elevated it to meet our policy on the other projects and said we want people of high authority sitting on this committee, assistant general manager level. They will meet on an as-needed basis, and that can involve just spontaneous, spur-of-the-moment telephone conference meetings if there is something that needs to be discussed quickly. We also have made some very specific recommendations and asked for information to come back to us on a second Motorola contract, one that has been delayed now for about 2 years and is still not finalized and has a massive omnibus change order still being worked on between Motorola and LAPD. I think that the way we can go forward with this and pray that we're not going to have the kinds of fiascos one of our speakers spoke about earlier, our fire department Fix 2 system, for instance, with this. I believe that we have come up with the suggestions needed to change it. I have been very uncomfortable also about some of the subcontractor issues, and that is why we made specific recommendations for LAPD to work with our Office of Contract Compliance, who, while they do not have jurisdiction over any department contracts other than Public Works, are very eager to work with the police department to help them handle subcontractor issues in a clearer and better and more appropriate way, and not to have certified women-owned businesses unceremoniously dropped last minute as they were here. So I am recommending, with the one change that I have moved and Mr. Fuhrer has seconded, that we move the Public Safety Committee report forward. The Technical Steering Committee will be reporting to us on a quarterly basis, and to my colleague Mark Ridley Thomas's committee if he so chooses. And I think with this kind of teamwork, oversight approach, we can hope to move forward in a successful way and not make the kinds of mistakes that have been made in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, before we proceed, Chief Parks, did you want to, I think we should get a report from the police department, and then we'll continue on. Ms. Goldberg would be next, but I think, Chief, you want to give us a report on this?
Joel, before you speak, Chick just put in a motion without any warning.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment on this issue. We recently appeared before the Public Safety Committee to discuss many recommendations made by the CAO as it relates to dealing with the department's radio contract. I think we basically agree with most of the recommendations, with the exception of moving the responsibility for the management of the budget for this project from the hands of the police department into the hands of the Technical Steering Committee. I think that as we've developed systems in the past, because of the need of the individual department's involvement, a process has been set up in which the department that is delivering the system has been designated the program manager with the review of its commission. We have seen over time the necessity to have a technical steering committee so that the program manager and department managers can rely on that technical expertise to develop the system, but in no way impair the ability to manage the budget for the system. We believe that there are more than adequate safeguards in the current system in which our technical, our program manager is able to make moves and decisions that are $20,000 or less in changes, but yet we have a police commission overview that's mandated that anything over the cost of $20,000 and the collective cost of over $600,000 comes before the police commission. They are the statutory entity that's responsible for delivering this system. They're the ones that will be monitoring the $50 million process. They're the ones that overview and approve the original contract before submitting it to the police commission, to the city council. It is our judgment that it is unnecessary encumbrance to cause decisions made on financial issues, not technical issues, to be sent to a committee in which often, as we know, committees are an entity that often is impossible to assert and identify responsibility. As the chief of the department and also in talking with the police commission this morning, we are more than willing to take on the responsibility of managing this project and to ensure that it's delivered on time and within cost. We also believe that in addressing these concerns, that it's important that we not establish systems and rules and put them in place for problems that are dated and several years old. We no longer have an administration and a department that has not taken an active role in delivering these services or this contract. We've taken a very active position in bringing this contract to the commission. And the radio system, most all of the details addressing the radio system have been hammered out and addressed before this contract has come before you. The issue of what occurred in the MDT contract should not color our ability to deal with this particular contract. And then most of the issues that have dealt with the MDT contract that has caused the delay have been resolved in some face-to-face meeting with the management of Motorola. So it is important that we not lose touch with the fact that the program manager within the department in which the system is going to be delivered, it's most important to have the flexibility to evaluate and make decisions. And when we're talking about a $50 million contract, a $20,000 decision on a change order is not necessarily a significant one-time decision, but in collectiveness of a $600,000 and anything over $20,000 on an individual cause is reviewed by the commission. And I think it's important that we allow the commission and the chief of police to manage this project to its conclusion and not to add unnecessary encumbrances in the process of bringing this system forward. Thank you.
Another thing she did, she said, let's give that 600,000. By doing that, that means she got to council.
Are you finished, Chief?
The only thing I'd like to add is that in the report that was done by the Finance Committee in which it talked about the $600,000 issue, what we'd like to make sure that one item is not lost in the receipt and file of that report is item A3, in which it authorizes the commission to review $600,000 changes, collectively $600,000 in changes. If this is received and filed and not acted upon, it's our judgment that we would then have to bring all issues before the council to get reviewed and approved. And I don't believe the council is interested in approving every change within this system. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Goldberg.
Yes, I'm looking at a series of quotes from a December 19th article in one of the local newspapers in which Chief Parks, you are quoted as saying, this is as to the other contract, the data system contract, that Motorola is attempting to significantly change terms in the contract in midstream, since the city may be committing to a $50 million expanded voice radio system. I cannot help but have reservations about Motorola's commitment to that project. Specifically, they're attempting to reduce the quality and response times of the computers to be installed in police cars. And then Commander Cudio is quoted as saying, this is how these companies work. They promise you the world before they get the contract, and then they try to change it all on you. It's like a bait and switch. It's not going to work. So what's changed since those quotes attributed to you gentlemen have occurred? That's my first question. The second question I have goes to the question of the issue of having changed subcontractors after we get to the end of the trail and find out that a WBE firm gets knocked off. Were you aware of that? And if you were, did you make any comment to them about it? Do we have any recourse in this situation? And my final question is, are you now satisfied with the data system contract? Because if you're satisfied with that, that'll go, oh, and I had one more, I'm sorry, I had 4 questions. That's my third question. My fourth question is, are there penalties in this contract for failure to meet the schedule as it gets set out? In other words, my concern is very simple. If there is no penalty for going way beyond schedule to the contractor, then in essence, we have no way of holding them accountable when they decide that they can't get something done in time. And so I want to know, are there penalties in this contract for not meeting the schedule for the contractor?
Okay. Let me see if I could address all of those. First of all, what has occurred since those comments is that the letter, first of all, we got to distinguish that we're talking about 2 different contracts. We have never expressed dismay about the radio contract. The issues that we were bringing to the attention to Motorola dealt with the MDT contract. The difference of the 2 contracts is that we have hashed out all of the issues on the radio contract prior to it coming to the council, where in the MDT contract that process was not developed, and we're currently trying to evolve into addressing all the issues on the MDT contract. What has also occurred is that, number one, that the Office of the Chief of Police has taken a very active role in the moving of both of these contracts. I have personally talked to the Vice President at Motorola at least twice. We have sent a contingent of ITA and Police Department personnel to Illinois to meet with the Vice President and his staff. Motorola has made a number of changes in their design teams that are working with us, and they have sent back a letter to us in concept agreeing with most of the issues that we have brought to their attention, and we're in the process of looking at their change order document now. They have tentatively agreed on the MDT contract to add in somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 to $6 million in additional services at no cost to the city. The other issue is whether there's penalties in the contract. There are no penalties in the contract for failure to meet due dates, but the ultimate payment of the contract is on the shoulders of the City of Los Angeles, and there is no payment on either contract unless we are pleased with the product in which they have given us. And so there is a control in that regard. As relates to the movement of the subcontractors, the way I understand the process is a decision was made internally in Motorola in that in 2 issues. One, in which they replaced a subcontractor, which I understand is also fits in the guidelines of the minority contracting guidelines. The other issue is they decided to do the work internally, which, the way I understand it, was an attempt to save money, which eventually would be carried over to the City of Los Angeles. And I do not have a real clear understanding of all the ins and outs of subcontractors, but I understand that that is a role in which Motorola has played in the sense of who they select and whether they meet the city guidelines is really evaluated by another department. The police department has not taken a role in determining who are subcontractors and what the guidelines and the selection by Motorola. And there may be another part of the question I didn't cover.
Got pretty close.
Okay, Mr. Holden?
Mr. President and members, I'm just not ready to vote for this. I don't think I voted for it before Chief Parks became chief, because I just know how these guys undermine these contracts. I think when I first came to work here about 10 years ago, we were discussing a communication system at that time that would, and we had to move very quickly in order to protect the FCC's allegation, which they were giving us 33 channels, I think, at the time, allocation of the additional channels. We had to move quickly, and then we had to move quickly, and we did move quickly, and I cautioned you at that time. Then they signed a contract, and the contractor didn't fulfill the terms and conditions of the communication system. You had to buy them out. They threatened to sue you. We were at their mercy. These guys are thugs, number one. Number two, you're in a position to arrest some of them. And I think in some cases that ought to be done. The fact of the matter is that I can reflect back on Surveyor, the first moon landing. It cost $13 million. This project is 50 million big ones. And they don't want you to have any oversight and no control over it because they want to change and change whenever they want to. That project ended up costing 1,300% more than what they bid for it. And so will this one. That's the way they operate. And we're at their mercy because we don't have the so-called, we confide in them, we have confidence in them because they are scientists and they're experienced. They've been in the industry for years, the aerospace industry, communication industry. And so they know more than we know, so we say, and so we think. But they really do not, because we're charged with the responsibility of protecting the taxpayers' dollars. They're ripped off the federal government and NASA over and over again. And you may not be familiar with that, but I am. With their change orders, they buy in, and they change and change and change. And you don't recognize the contract that they bid it on when you end up with it. And number one, the dollars are way off scale. And if you really want to compete with some of these guys, bring some whistleblowers in from the aerospace industry to monitor the contracts. Bring some whistleblowers in who know how they do their deals. And they call that a check and balance. Because really that's what you need. You're really at their mercy. They're not going to provide you anything. The last big contract we signed off on, all we gave them was money and got nothing in return. They did not fulfill the terms and conditions of the contract at all. And so when I saw this TRW system, this Motorola, and these some of my friends that are here speaking on their behalf, you know, I'm not going to go for this. And you turn around and you insult us even more after this council took a position on Proposition 209, and you dump these women off the contract. That tells you what they think. They don't give a darn about our policy. They care about just themselves only, and they'll do what they want to do, when they want to do it, against whom they want to do it against. Now that's virtually, and Motorola, hold your hand if you represent Motorola. You see, you ought to be ashamed for what you did to these women.
Our Mr. Holden, your time is up. Mr. Hernandez. I'm not protecting them, Mr. Holden, I'm protecting you. Mr. Hernandez.
Mr. President, members of council, and I'll need the chair of public safety, Ms. Chick, to help me out a little bit here. The TSC Oversight Committee that is being proposed, it says in the report, is made up of representatives from this office, chair, what's that?
It's made up of representatives from the CAO, CLA, ITA,
Board of Public Works?
LAPD, Public Works. And
Yeah.
the steering committee...
No, I'm just asking the chair, but that does not mean the chair of public safety, or doesn't mean...
Nope.
The
No council
chair
members.
of the council, so
Nope.
no council members.
Nope.
It's
Only
just the
our-
way the report is, it's made up of representatives from this office. The chair would be, I guess, LAPD,
No, the chair is the CAO.
the CAO?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is the way it's been set up, I think, from the beginning. This is a, like, 2-decade-old committee.
Right. And is that the committee that the chief is saying would be duplication in terms of oversight, Chief Parks? Is that the committee that you're objecting to?
That's the committee that we're objecting to manage the budget. We believe their role is to give us technical advice, and that's what they were set up to do.
Now, why would you want them, why would you not want them to manage the budget?
Because the contract, and you're giving the police department the authority to let the contract, the department management, the chief of police, and the program manager in the police commission should be responsible for managing the budget and coming over to the council and discussing changes and our inability to bring that budget forward.
Okay,
The
okay.
issue we're saying it's a
Yeah,
difference.
previous performance has answered that question for me, Chief. I just wanted to get clarity as to why we were there. The second issue I wanted is from the city attorney's perspective. Is there a representative of the city attorney regarding the RFP? Mr. President, if you hold my time, please. I'm waiting for the city attorney. I need to ask the city attorney, many times we as a council are asked to vote on contracts that go out through an RFP process, and then we find ourselves stuck. You come to us and say, well, according to our contract, there's nothing you can do. The realities are you have to pay this extra money, or the realities are you can't necessarily do any performance even though it's costing you a lot of money. What kinds of safeguards exist in regards to this RFP to hold Motorola accountable to timeframes and cost in terms of the proposal they've submitted to us? And then my second question is to hold Motorola accountable in terms of the subcontractors and the performance of those subcontractors and who those subcontractors are supposed to be.
Let me begin with the second question because I think it's the most straightforward. The contract is with Motorola, and the safeguard as to the performance of any of the subcontractors is that it's Motorola who has the obligation to make sure that the performance is there and that it's done according to the contract requirements. So that's in terms of the performance by the subcontractors. It's Motorola's obligation to make sure that they perform. With respect to safeguards, I've been informed by the technical staff and also by the CAO that in this contract, that this contract is based upon a design that has already been completed and approved by the technical staff of the city and the consultants that we have working with us, so that this is essentially for the backbone radio system is the delivery of equipment and the installation of equipment that is required, and so that the concern and the risk as they see it is fairly low, that there won't be the required performance. In that regard, however, the contract provides that the city does not pay for anything that it does not receive, and since what we're getting essentially is the equipment with the necessary installation, but is the equipment, there won't be any payment until that equipment is received. That is the safeguard.
All right. Mr. Fuhrer?
There'll be no payment unless the equipment is received and works properly, correct?
Correct.
You know, there are a couple different issues on the table. One is we have a system currently, a radio system, that is dangerous. It doesn't always work. It broke down a couple times. It broke down on October 2nd. It broke down on November 10th. We need to upgrade the system quickly for the sake of public safety in the city. But at the same time, we need to move forward recognizing that appropriate oversight needs to be in place. Early on, a couple of years ago, we began the process of overhauling how we oversee capital projects that are bond funded, and putting in place a structure to assure that we deliver what our voters expect from us, projects that are on time, projects that cost what they were anticipated to cost. Because I think we have an emergency at hand, we need to get a new radio system in place. And because I also think that we need to assure that there is appropriate oversight in place, I support the approach that is now on the table, which is memorialized in the report that emerges from the Public Safety Committee with the amendment regarding change orders that Ms. Chick put on the table that I seconded this morning. These provisions can change. If we find over the course of time that we have a system that is working properly, not a system of oversight that is working properly, or if we find that it's unduly intrusive in some ways, we can modify the system. But I think it's appropriate for us to put this kind of an oversight system in place now. We need the system, the radio system. We need the oversight system. We can get both with what's on the table now. I am worried about our failure to move this contract forward at this juncture because of the failures that we've already seen experienced in the system and the danger that can be caused to the public if the system doesn't work. I would not have supported moving forward without the additional oversight that is now on the table. But with it, I think we have a balanced and prudent approach to making our public safer and assuring that promises can be kept. So I'm going to support what's on the table today, and I urge that you do too.
Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, I also serve as the third member on the Public Safety Committee, and I support this contract, and I wanted to explain why. You know, we get into the technical jargon, we get into the contractual stuff, and quite often we turn cross-eyed trying to figure out what the heck they just said. But what really sold this contract to me were two key points. Number one, that the decision to go conventional versus trunking was based on a tactical decision. It was strategic. And I asked the chief point blank, do you believe that this system is the safest system possible? And the answers were absolutely yes, with regard to the safety of the police officers, with regard to the safety of the public. The second issue that concerned me the most is the timing. And the fact that this system has broken down at least a couple of times in the midst of operation. Now, you know, this weekend we went to the Bank of America to celebrate their contribution in the aftermath of the anniversary of the incident that we had at the Bank of America over in North Hollywood, and I started to think, what would have happened if the radio communication system had broken down in the middle of that event? And God forbid that would happen, because it would have been disastrous. We would have lost lives, both our community, our police officers, people in the bank. I guarantee you there would have been loss of life if our radio communication system had broken down during the course of that event. And so we absolutely have to move forward. And in that same spirit, the one concern I have about adding an additional oversight level is that every time a change order comes through, if it's going to have to go through 2 or 3 levels of review without action, not review, but authorization, we could literally threaten to slow down the construction of this project for a $25,000 change order. I have a real concern with that. The other thing is that with regard to authority, we are the ultimate responsible parties here. I have absolutely no concern about us getting change orders, and if we receive and file the Budget and Finance Committee report, we eliminate the responsibility that it come back to council on $600,000 worth of change orders. I think we should look at it, not just take the opinion of the committee, the Technical Advisory Committee, to come back to us when they think we should review it. And so I think we should, I mean, I think that we should increase our responsibility in getting this project done. And so I would move in a different direction. I would say that if there's a change order, that the council must review it within an appropriate period of time, where it's 30, 60, 90 days, so that we know what's going on. Let's get hands-on. If we want to be responsible for it, let the council members
thank you.
be responsible for this project, and I'm all for that. But to ask this an additional level of review, not review, of authority, I think is shirking our responsibility to manage this project.
Thank you.
That is our function, not this TSR committee.
Mrs. Walters?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have been listening very carefully to the arguments and statements of the council member and the police chief. Number one, reference was made to this going through the Budget and Finance Committee very carefully. That committee was held on December 2nd at a time when I, along with other council members, were in Philadelphia at the National League of Cities meeting. So I did not participate in it or ask questions there, have the opportunity to ask questions there. But that does not mean that I don't have a lot of questions and that I have a great deal of unease about it. And Chief Parks, my unease deepened with the publication of the article to which Ms. Goldberg referred and the statements that you have made. Through all the years that I've been in public life, it seems to me that the history of how a company operates really is some predictor for how they will continue to operate. And I have concerns about the poor performance that this company had on the other contract, the MDT contract, as you referenced. And despite the safeguards, finished?
He's going to wait for you.
Okay. Despite the safeguards that are built in, I still have concern about it. One of the things I'm concerned about is not only has the primary company not performed in other instances, but one of their subcontractors has not performed in other instances, both here in the city and in the school district. So I am very concerned about handing out this contract, and certainly would not consider doing it at all without some real strict supervision. And I think that's what you're seeing, the feeling that there's a deep unease about the company getting the contract, period, and if they're to get it because the specs call for the equipment to match up with other things that we have from them, that then very strict supervision is required. I'm going to listen to the rest of my colleagues, and I'm not yet certain that I'm going to even vote for this because of the concerns that I have about the functioning of the company primary contractor in the past and what that portends for the future, as well as their handling of subcontractors and the lack of performance by at least one of their subcontractors on past contracts. And I wish there were some other way out of this. It seems like it's a force feed that we cannot afford. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Savornich?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. A couple questions that I do have is that I believe that in the questioning by Councilwoman Goldberg, that a question was asked that whether or not there would be a penalty to the vendor if the system was not delivered in a manner by which the city wants the system to be delivered and at what cost. And I believe that the answer was there is no penalty for non-performance of the contract?
The issue is related that there's no penalty, there's no payment if you are not satisfied with the delivery of the product and its functionality. So we do not pay for it if we're not satisfied with it.
Okay.
But there is no penalty as part of missing a due date or that they are late on the contract.
Okay, my question is that if indeed the city is not satisfied with the performance of the vendor on the contract, is there a period of time where they have to comply with the contract, or is there a period of time by which we have to be satisfied, or I guess are we just relying on them being able to if there's not a meeting of the minds here in regards to what satisfaction is on behalf of the city, how do we come to resolution?
I think number one is that we have to realize that Motorola has a certainly a issue here from their own reputation of bringing forth the successful conclusion of this contract. And I think the issue is that they're more than willing to work with us. And what we would believe in the sense of any contract and disagreement on performance, it would be something that would be very minor. We're not talking about a major issue as it relates to performance, or they're bringing forth our needs. And I think one thing that we have to keep distinguishing, the contract that's before you, all of those issues that we have a concern about on the MDT contract have already been resolved. The reason that the MDT contract has been delayed is because it was let, and we did not have all of these discussions beforehand.
And Chief, and the second question that I would have is in regards to the change orders. Is there a cap on the change orders on this contract?
A cap in what way? I don't understand.
Well, if we're going to be letting a 50 million and change contract for these products that Motorola is going to be delivering to us, is there a cap on the amount of change orders that can be incurred in regards to the fulfillment of this contract?
I don't think there's a cap, but I think also realize we make change orders also that are the benefit of the city and the department, and so there's a two-way process in change orders.
Okay. The one thing to which I'm concerned is if we are going to be letting a $50 million contract, and as you said, a change order can go both ways. What is the mechanism which would prevent this $50 million contract turning into a $60 or $70 or $80 million contract over
The issue
a course
is
of time?
okay, I see. The issue is this: is that first of all, on change orders, the way it's established is that $20,000 can be approved by the program manager. Anything above that, the police commission has to be involved for an individual act over $20,000 and a collective act over $600,000. Come to commission. Anything that goes beyond $50 million, the control is we'd have to come back to the council for that additional funding. And so we would not be making recommendations to change orders or additions well before the council was made aware of what the concerns were or whether there was deficiencies.
Ms. Stokowski?
I'd like to pursue the issue of the safeguards too on the accountability. I was led to believe that there's actually an incentive in the contract for the deliverable ahead of time. Is that true?
Specifically, no.
Not specific, okay.
However, we have a schedule, a 42-month schedule, I believe, and the incentive will be for them to deliver the system well ahead of that, and we think they're capable of doing that. We believe that 36 months, 38 months, and the incentive will be that they're going to be paid for a 42-month schedule regardless.
And following up in terms of the non-performance, which is what we've learned with the MDT contract, why didn't we consider a penalty for non-performance on a timeline, particularly since the radio one is of such urgency?
Well, my discussions with the city attorney, the individual city attorney who's been assigned to this project for all these many years, who's now retired, his opinion was that the city, in general, does not put performance penalties in these technology contracts. And there's a practical reason why we don't do it, but I'll defer to the city attorney.
Yes, penalties are not favored by the law. They're the only form in which you can include a penalty in a contract is to include liquidated damages. Generally, if you include that, the contractor, of course, will insist on a cost for that, and they'll insist on it being mutual as well. What that does, in effect, though, is that it limits the amount of damages that the city can also recover. So if you specify a certain amount of liquidated damages, if they fail to do whatever the breach might be, that's the limitation on the city's ability to recover damages, and if they're significantly in excess of that, we would not recover that larger amount. So it's a two-edged sword.
Well, but it seems to me that in an area where time is literally of the essence, and we are all aware of the urgency of this system and the breakdown, that kind of performance on a timeline is an essential ingredient and an element of a contract, and I think we should look at it in terms of that. The other question I had is regarding the Technical Steering Committee. And as I understand, it's been presented to us that this is a new mode and something different from what has occurred in the past. And yet, as I read the information, I find that that's not the case, that the Technical Steering Committee has been in place. And I guess my question is to those who are members of the Technical Steering Committee, where was the Technical Steering Committee in terms of the lack of performance by Motorola through the MDT contract and the 24-month delay that's going on there. I mean, we have the CAO, the CLA, and others sitting in on that, and it was only with the chief's letter in December, I think, that it was brought to our attention of the serious delay in that contract. And I commend the chief for writing that very stunning letter to this company, but it seems to me that there was a serious lack of attention by others who are involved in oversight and to whom we are entrusting oversight in this contract. And I would like to have some response as to where the Technical Service Committee was through the MDT contract over the last 24 months. I don't know if the CAO is able.
Okay. Your time is up, but we'll
I'm
get the
looking for a
answer.
response on.
Gene Walters, the CAO's office. The steering committee was present and at each of the monthly meetings was informed of problems that were being resolved by the police department. And in each of the monthly meetings, the same story came by. I cannot speak for what occurred prior to 1997, as that steering committee was chaired by another person who is no longer with the CAO's office. So I do not know what happened during those periods of time. I can only speak for the last 1997, those months during that year. And that in those months, the police department every month came by and said that they were working with Motorola to resolve the problems, and that's as far as it got.
Okay, Mr. Bernsen?
Yeah, two things that I'm concerned about. Number one, I think it's imperative that we get this communication system completed and updated as quickly as possible so that we don't have any disasters. I'm concerned about this, any delays on a reevaluation of anything over 50,000. I realize the 50,000 is better than the 20,000, and I think that was a good amendment. I would like to suggest, in fact, I'm going to make it a motion that that changes over 50,000, that the council be advised of it, and that council members may propose within a 5-day period for taking jurisdiction on those changes, and must act within 2 weeks, so that there will not be any long delays on these types of things. So I'm going to make that a motion. Yeah, that's right. Second of all, I am concerned about the non-penalty for delay. And I heard the advice of the city attorney, but you know something? I watched what happened after the Northridge earthquake on the Caltrans contracts for improving for repairing the freeways. And by gosh, they came in early because there was a reward, and I understand we're going to pay them for 42-day contract. If they, is it a 42-day contract? What is it? 42 months, excuse me, months. I had a little difference there, a couple decimal points. If they complete it within 36 rather than 42, they're going to be paid for the 42. Is that correct? Could somebody answer me, please? They're going to be paid. They're going to be paid a bonus, in fact, right? No. If they complete it ahead of time, they're going to be paid for the 42-month contract. Why don't we have the same type of penalty at the other end? If they don't complete it in time, why shouldn't they pay us a penalty for that? And, you know, I recognize the fact about the courts and everything else, but you know something? It works, and incentives, if we're going to give incentives, we ought to have penalties also. And I'm not going to make it a motion, but I would like to hear from some other members of the council, and I'd like to hear from the chief on this and what he thinks relative to my motion, number one, and number two, to the suggestion about adding penalties as well as the incentives.
Well, first of all, I think the issue on the motion is that I think we have to be concerned about whatever safeguards we place on this system, that we be concerned on the operational efficiency, that the council hopefully has faith enough in the police department that on a day-to-day basis we're making decisions to deliver this system. I think the issue is that if we start setting up procedures and addressing concerns that we're bringing every change order to where the council is going to approve it before we move, you will do exactly what you're trying not to do, and that's delay the system. I think by the fact that you've given the department the authority to let the contract, you've given them the authority to deliver the contract. The technical steering committee has been in place for years as technical advice, but it never has been used as a management of the overall budget. And I think the issue is that, and I think Ms. Councilperson Miskowski's statement, the same committee that we're talking about to manage the budget set for 21 months and monitored inactivity on a prior contract. And so the fact that we're raising the level of authority and positions of people on that same committee does not appear is the answer to the question. We know internally why that contract was delayed for 21 months. The people that were working on the system did not get adequate support internally in the department to get it moving. And that is cured by the fact that we have a couple of things in place. You have a chief of police that's willing to take on that responsibility. You have a CIO that's coming on board in the next 2 months that report directly to chief of police. And we have a commission that's interested in delivering this service. We clearly know the negatives of having a system break down, and we're willing to move forward in getting it done. And again, the MTD contract will also be delivered as we develop these guidelines and criterias. And what we're trying to do is ask you to give us the ability to get the contract done and deliver the system without unnecessary encumbrances.
If I may point out, this is a fixed price contract, so that whether it's done in 41 months or 42 months or even earlier, if the system is built, that's what we're paying them for, and the time is not the factor, although the deliverable time is to us, but it's a fixed price contract.
There's no incentive clause if they do it sooner that they get paid?
Correct. The cost is the same regardless.
But on some of our public works jobs, there's a penalty if you delay.
Yes, there are.
Okay, Mrs. Chick.
It has been a real leap of faith, as I mentioned, for me to come forward recommending that we go forward with this, and also a feeling of what other alternatives are there, of being put in a corner, that this is the best it seems we could do, and that what we have in our 911 system needs improving, and how not to move forward. But I am moving more and more, colleagues, when the lights light up, to being a no vote. There's been a loss of faith and confidence in me watching this process, and now we have the police department sitting here saying that the kind of teamwork, improved oversight that the history of this so clearly illustrates is needed, is a hindrance to them. It is beyond belief to me. I am surprised to hear the chief say that all the issues on the MDT contract are resolved. What I know is that finally, after this 24-month delay, the omnibus change order has been delivered by Motorola to LAPD, and they have been told it's a no-cost item. But what hasn't been determined yet is, are we getting what we need? And are the right controls in place? And you will notice that part of the Public Safety Committee report specifically asks for further information to come back to committee on the MDT contract. I'm also surprised and disappointed to keep hearing the department say the MDT contract has nothing to do with this one. Well, let me explain what it does have to do with. It's the same company, and it's the same source, taxpayers, of the money that's going on both of these contracts. And if it weren't for Chief Parks writing the letter and your Public Safety Committee acting on it, I don't know that we'd even be as close as we might be to finally resolving the MDT contract. All of these pieces need to come together at the end of the day, colleagues, for us to have an improved 911 system. And when we're asking about assurances in the contract, it's why I introduced a motion to take a look at how we're doing contracts, especially on technology issues, to bring in stronger guarantees to us. It is very confusing to me still to this day. Who is going to integrate all of these pieces and at the end of the road ensure that not only does each deliverable work, but they all work together? So any changes in what the committee, the Public Safety Committee has before you, with the exception of the amendment I introduced, seconded by Mr. Fewer, and the amendment from Mr. Bernson, which I second in case that hadn't been heard,
Thank you.
to me denigrates this whole thing beyond a point that I can be comfortable.
Ms. Goldberg.
I'm sorry. In the large packet of materials that I received, I did not get a copy of Exhibit 1, payment schedule, with the milestones, so I would hope to see that if I could now. Because you see, my concern is that it says that we are to pay for this at certain milestones, and I don't know what those milestones are. But presumably that means that Motorola gets paid as we go along, which of course makes sense to me. No? Okay, but that's, I don't have that, so. Talk into the microphone, nobody can hear you but me. Please.
We do not pay this contract on the basis of a time schedule. We pay it on the basis of a deliverables.
I understand, but it's not the whole system.
Correct.
Right. So if a piece of it comes and that piece looks like it's going to work, we pay for it, right? Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But we won't know if the whole system works till it's all up and running. Is that true or not?
That's correct.
Well, that's the problem for me, is that this notion that they don't get paid if it doesn't work, we won't know until they've probably gotten 80 or 85% of their funds. But let me go to another question. My next question is, how long is the warranty on the hardware and software in this system?
Which one?
After the
Which
whole
piece?
system is completed. Well, I'll tell you because I found it. It's 375 days. So that's a year and 10 days. So we will have a $51 million system with a year and 10-day warranty. Well, that's what it says. I'm just reading it right here. That
don't pay any
seems to me
attention to
awfully short.
No, we pay, I think it's very, very important to understand that the way that we've organized and defined this contract is we're going to be paying on deliverables. But we pay on deliverables that are not going to have risk to the city. For instance, we're going to be taking delivery of equipment, but it's not until that equipment is going to be staged back in Schaumburg, Illinois. We do not pay for one single thing until we know that that system is functioning. Every piece of that equipment is functioning in Schaumburg. Then it is brought out to the City of Los Angeles at that point in time, and it is tested. And we don't pay for anything in that system until we know that it's functional. They come out and they perform tests where they drive around a grid to test the equipment. It's at that point in time that we decide to take delivery of that system. And it's operating at that point in time. So I think it's very important to understand that the city is not at risk of accepting pieces of equipment that are delivered on our doorstep without an integrated situation. And that's one of the reasons that we're testing back in Schaumburg. That is for the protection of Motorola, and that's also for the protection of the city.
Okay. Why is the warranty period so short? I'm looking at page 39 of the contract. Article 7, warranty and maintenance, 7.1, warranty period. The FOC system warranty period, the equipment warranty period, and the software warranty period shall each be 375 days, commencing on the date of notice of final city system approval or beneficial use, whichever comes first.
We always have a year warranty on that, on system and equipment. The equipment, though, this is the thing, the equipment...
Why do we always only have a year on a $51 million purchase?
Well, the $51 million is just because there's that much equipment. We can pay for more warranty. This all costs the city. We get a warranty on the system so that if anything happens to it, that Motorola is responsible. Once it is turned over to the city, we can buy additional warranty on that. It's all a matter of cost.
All right, Mr. Holden.
Yes, and I think another important thing is that there is a 10% withhold on this entire...
A retention?
On each payment, and we don't pay that until the warranty period is through.
Okay.
So
after the 375 days? After
Yes,
the 375?
yes.
Okay, Mr. Holden?
Mr. President, I will argue once again, it's like taking candy from a baby, and that's what's going on right now. We are not, at least our contract negotiators are not even qualified negotiate contracts with these individuals. Now, we're not talking about a cost plus fixed fee, but it sounds like it, or an incentive fee, or we're not talking about a fixed fee contract. Maybe you are talking about it, but it's not a fixed fee because of the changes. And every time you bring in a change, and that's what Ms. Chick was trying to protect against, every time you bring in a change, you change the scope of the doggone work. Now, let me just tell you one other thing. You know, negotiating contracts have been going on for years. They had an organization called National Contract Management Association. You had a guy from Hughes who was an expert, negotiate the knowns and unknowns. You don't even know what they're talking about when they start talking about negotiation. And that's why they take you. Are these things going to be redesigned? Are they off-the-shelf items? Or what do we have here? The Doppler-equipped communication system is as old as the Model T, but it's more advanced technology than what you're talking about right here. You just don't know what you're doing, and you need to bring in somebody to help you to do it. That's my view. And I think that it would be worth our while to invest in contract negotiators who are experts. It'd be cost effective to spend a couple $100,000 to keep these guys in check. And the other thing too, for maintaining the equipment, once when the warranty is up, you're better off having some in-house experts to do that. Off the shelf is off the shelf. Modular construction is modular construction. They're not going to have no point-to-point communication wiring system. I mean, what are they going to provide for you? They're going to provide for you a headache. And they're going to make it so confusing that you won't know how to unravel it. And therefore, you have to continuously buy their services after you pay the $50 million. That's the game plan. That is the game plan. And in your face today, and in your ears and eyes tomorrow, they're going to put their fingers. I would say to you that, did we try to get some GSE, government surplus equipment? I mean, if it's off the shelf, is it really off the shelf? These guys are experts. Look how many are here today just for this one contract. Top paid, high level people. And in terms of the terms and conditions of the contract, we do have an incentive contract. They negotiated that in the aerospace industry, Mr. City Attorney, years ago. And you had a penalty in the contract when they failed to meet the term. The government got so tough, they said, we're tired of these cost overruns. We're not going to pay anymore. So therefore, there will be a penalty if you don't get the delivery on schedule. And they adhere to that. Those are government contract negotiators that they have to adhere to that's been in place for 20 years. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. How many times we have to do that? I'm saying to you that I'm not going to vote for this, mainly because you dropped the women.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. You love the women.
Among other reasons.
Mr. Holden, your time is up. Mr. Hernandez.
You know, I saw Mr. Comrie around. Is he still around? And, oh, yes, there he is. Mr. President, if you don't mind joining us at the front. And Mr. Deaton, you know, regarding the warranty of the equipment, you can buy a used car at a used car lot, drive it home, and it'll get you there. The question is, does it get you to work? And how long does that warranty last? But obviously, we're getting better warranty on the cars we're buying than we are on the system. But I'm really disturbed by a few facts, and this whole debate has confused me thoroughly. I'm confused by the chief because the chief basically admitted that the department previously was not able to manage a contract because it didn't assign the proper personnel to do that. And that's what he was saying when he talked about the MBT contract as to why the delays. The CAO's office basically admitted that they were taking the department's word that everything was going along all right in regards to that contract, and that's why they weren't asking questions. The city attorney is admitting that the city can't basically perform in oversight of these contracts because they don't want to put any penalties attached to not meeting contract requirements on timeframes because it could also be the city's fault. So nobody wants to take accountability. I mean, that's how the bureaucracy works. That's why we can go out and bid on a new personnel building using taxpayers' bond monies and basically ask someone to get it ready for us for $18 million, and we not have the architectural plans ready until after the commitments are made, so now we have to pay $28 million. That's how we've always operated. And I think that's part of what the problem is that we're having right now and trying to deal with this oversight. I wanted basically the CAO's office, CLA's office, and I'm sorry that you're here, Pete, as opposed to Jimmy Hahn, to be here, to basically make you aware that you're the ones accountable. And we as a council tend to take the brunt of this not happening. We as a council tend to evaluate your performance, and we don't take contract compliance as to part of that evaluation. And see, I think that the city attorney basically is shying away from his duties of holding the city accountable also in regards to these contracts by not creating these incentives. You know, when we say there's no incentive to basically complete a contract within 42 months, whatever the time frame may be, 3 years, we're also saying there's no incentive. I mean, they could get paid $51 million if they did it next week. But at the same time, they could get paid $51 million if they do it over 10 years. And yet we're the ones saying we need the system to work as soon as possible. So right now, I'm real confused as to whether I should vote for this item. And I'm just going to make some very simple questions. Mr. Comrie, should I be voting on this item, and are you going to be held accountable for it? Do you mind if I base your livelihood on your performance on this advice?
Yes.
Mr. Yes,
All other questions.
And Mr. Deaton.
If you provide the role as suggested by the Public Safety Committee, in which we are responsible for looking at the change orders and reporting back to you on the timetable, then the answer is yes. If you don't do it that way and you make the police department responsible, then I'm happy to make the chief accountable for the process.
I like Mr. Deaton's answer better, but I'll take both of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Galanter.
I don't want to make a speech. I just want to ask a question. If the, I did. If the, well, would you shut up for a minute then and let me ask my question so I don't have to make a speech? The question is, I hear a lot of division in the council about which way to vote. I want to know what happens if this fails to pass. If the vote is straight yes, obviously it's approved and it goes forward. If the vote is a straight no, I'm afraid this means that we have to start all over again. And so what I want to know, if somebody will explain this to me logistically, is for those who are planning to vote no, and I've heard several people say that now, rather than kill the prospects of upgrading our 911 system, ought they to be arguing to refer this to a committee to iron out whatever kinks are leading people to vote no instead of voting no?
Councilwoman, if we talk about voting no on moving the contract forward, right, what the downside is that the system that is already in ill repair will continue to break down and it will not be repaired as we intended. It also impacts negatively on the TRW contract, that as they build the new facilities, they need to know the radio system.
Okay, Chief, excuse me for interrupting you, and I do appreciate the answer, but I wasn't really inviting you to give another speech advocating it. This is really a procedural question. If clearly the system needs to be upgraded, and everybody agrees to that, it's only a question of who's going to do it and what are the mechanics for getting it done. But I hear the council divided over whether to adopt the Public Safety Committee's report, which would approve the contract. And what I'm afraid of is that if we ever finally get to a vote, if the committee report fails, that we may be back at square one, and I desperately want to try to avoid that. So can you just explain it to me procedurally?
Maybe the no vote should be one of two votes, one of two no votes. One is no, go back and work it out, or no, go back and rebid it. And I think they both have consequences in terms of the equipment and the ability to respond. But if at some point, if either this agreement in the view of the council is so flawed that maybe we should go back to rebid it, or one, or two, go try to fix it again.
All right, so there's no motion on the floor at the moment except the committee report, right? Or did I miss it? All right, there's two committee reports. Three committee reports?
There's a couple amendments, I believe.
Two committee reports, a couple of amendments. All right. No wonder I'm a little confused here.
Okay, you're,
Does anybody actually know what those, you must know what those motions and amendments
Yeah,
are.
she does.
All right.
Oh,
Well,
you're- okay,
but
you're-
if we ever get to a vote, you'll remind us.
okay. Chief, did you have some outside experts on this, negotiations on this contract and this, or was it all in-house by police officers?
No, the issue on negotiating the contract was done by our internal ITA, the police department, and members of that technical steering committee as we developed that process. And I think the issue that, again, that we've come forward with is that the council agreed to have the police department let that contract, and we have played a major role with all of the entities in the city to address that. And we also, I believe we have what is it, RCC, that brings in outside consultants, assist us as we go forward on these contracts. So there's a variety.
You did have outside consultants?
The RCC is the outside consultants that we bring on.
Okay. Mr. Fuhrer, did you want to be heard? Mr. Burnson?
Yes, I understand that the motion I made prior was not necessary because any action that's over 50,000, I believe it is, must be approved by the commission. Is that correct?
Currently 20,000.
But the amendment to make it 50 would make it 50.
To the extent that you provide that any review be
Please.
performed by the police commission,
Yeah.
that would be profitable.
Okay, now I'm going to withdraw that amendment. I'm going to make a new amendment. My new amendment would be that the commission, upon any action 50,000 or more, immediately notify the city council of that action, and that the action of the commission shall not be in force until 5 days, so that the council shall have the opportunity to Prop 5 that action. And then, I'm not quite finished.
That portion is not required because
I
that's recited
understand
in the
that,
charter.
but I want to say it anyway, okay? So please don't interrupt me again, thank you. Also, that the council shall have 2 weeks from the Prop 5 to act on that, why can't I?
Because it's contrary to the charter. The charter gives you a section of
Okay.
time.
All right, how long does the charter?
You can, it's 21 days. You can
Okay.
make
All
a
right.
decision within the 2
All right, I'm not
weeks.
going, I'm not going to argue that point.
if it's a
I'm
provision
gonna-
of the contract,
Excuse me, please. I'm going to make this amendment to both reports, and I'm going to tell you that I have confidence in this, Chief, and I think that we need to get this in place. We cannot, I repeat, we cannot fail to approve one of this contract today. The question is which committee report we're going to approve. So I'm going to support the Finance Committee report because I think that's what the chief wants, I think, and I have confidence in the chief to make sure that this is going to be done right this time. And with that amendment, and I hope I get a second. Can I get a second to that amendment? Okay, very good. And let's move forward. We cannot not approve a contract today. We cannot afford to put our civilians and our police officers in jeopardy by having a communication system breakdown, whether it's a North Hollywood shootout or an earthquake or whatever may take place. We've got to have it, and we have to be responsible and act, members of the council.
Mr. Elatorre.
Mr. President and members, I'd like to find out, we're concerned about whether in fact the company Motorola can produce the product and produce it in a timely manner, and that on change orders, if there are some, that something be done. What happens if the city is the one that's culpable? You know, as an example, changing a specification that causes a delay in the product. You know, because let's be honest, I mean, you know, it's not that we're not above doing that, being late and changing midstream. So what I'm trying to understand is what happens in a case like that. So Mr. Comrie or Mr. Deaton or anybody.
Mr. Alatorre, the change order process is a two-way street. And that's when a contractor views that something's out of scope of the contract, then the proper thing for the contractor to do is to file a change order to make that change, either in terms of time or money or both. And that's the provision we're talking relative to the 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, or whatever it is. And we have been involved in contracts in this city, the original X project, going through numerous change orders relative to that project and which ones we wanted to pay for.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Look at Ron.
Okay.
You know,
it can go both ways.
we're not exactly. There's not a public entity that knows many times what when it comes to contracts. You know about change orders and everything else, but you know it is a timely process. So we want to look at every change order of $20,000 on a $50-some million project or $50,000. Man, we'll be spending all our time looking at change orders. And in the meantime, the product is not being delivered to the police department because we're busy with the change orders. And I mean, God forbid if there is a change order that may be huge and it may, you know, it'll take us months to deliberate on that. I mean, there's got to be some kind of a process. You know, we always complain about paying a lot of money. And you know what? I agree there are times when contractors are to blame. But there also are times when the city is to blame by making outrageous demands, by making, you know, having certain things that are expected, and time is money. A delay of a month is money. And, you know, it just seems to me that, you know, it's crazy. I'm going to move, Mr. Chairman, I'll move the Budget and Finance Committee report. You know, either we're going to, you know, this man has a lot at stake on this. If he's putting his word and his professional career on the line for something like this, you know, he's the chief of police. And we're always talking about how we micromanage everybody under the sun. The man is prepared to take responsibility. Let us allow him to have that responsibility and let him deliver the product and let him write the product, because all we're going to do is take a lot of time and it's going to cost us more money. And we're going to blame the contractor, not us.
Mr. Wax, for the first time.
Mr. Alatorre is partly right that there are a lot of times the city is to blame, and I assure you that in those times that we're to blame, we pay. The converse doesn't work, though. When the contractor is to blame, they rarely pay, and that's the problem we're wrestling with. I must say, I have waited for the day that people like Ms. Chick and Mr. Fuhrer and Ms. Goldberg would ask the kind of questions that they have been asking on this process, because the process is pretty much the process we've always had. And the results aren't always what we bargained for, and people come and go, as we will come and go, and other people always get stuck holding the bag when they don't deliver. And it's not about confidence in anyone here, it's about a system that has not had the kind of accountability. The kinds of scrutiny that I think Ms. Chick's committee has given this is exactly the kind of scrutiny that all contracts like this need and don't always get. If I have a problem here, I know I love Mr. Etcheverry, I think he's a terrific guy, but I have problems with the city attorney's office and the kind of counsel we have. I can't believe that if this were a business negotiating with Motorola, they couldn't negotiate some kind of better protection if what they deliver turns out not to be what we want. That's where I feel uncomfortable. We need the system. You know, we don't have a lot of options because there aren't a lot of vendors, there aren't a lot of people out there that are going to sell us the system. So that always makes me worry even more, because when you have no options, it's harder to hold people accountable. I did not feel comfortable, Chief, when you answered the original questions that, well, if they don't perform, you know, we got to be satisfied. I haven't, and unfortunately, I don't have the language, but I know that no one's going to sign a contract with such nebulous language. There's got to be standards by which you're not satisfied, standards by which you're not, you know, you don't withhold payment that easily after you have delivery on something unless, and I don't know what's exactly what's in there in the legal ramifications of that as to when we could exercise that unhappiness or not so as to not pay. But Mr. City Attorney, I can't believe that there isn't something more in there that we can protect ourselves if things don't go as we all want them to go. I want this contract Motorola is going to have to be the person, because there's no one else to do it, but I want them to be accountable if, in fact, they don't deliver what they promise. And tell me what more I could possibly consider to do that, because that is really my only concern here now. None of us will ever know in advance how good it's going to be, and this is new technology, it constantly changes there, but I know enough that we've been burned in the past, and when you've been burned in the past, you've got to anticipate possibly getting burned in the future, even if it's unintentional. Okay. The question is, what more can we possibly put in this contract to protect us in the event that after we take delivery and the system is operating beyond the year warranty, it doesn't work right?
What's not in the contract, and which you do have as a protection all the time, is that if they're in breach, if the contract does not operate, we declare them in breach and we sue them.
All right, Mr.
For the damages that the city has suffered. That's always a remedy available to the city.
But there
There
are some standards what this is supposed to do, isn't it? And if it
There
fails to do that,
are testing standards before the equipment is installed. There are testing standards when the equipment is installed, and then once it's delivered, then they get 90% of the payment. There's a withhold until the entire system is up and operating, then they get the 10%.
all right, Mr. Savornich.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Currently, who has the contract for this system in the city? For the system? I'm sure there's a system that we're using right now.
There is a system, but it was installed in 1983, so obviously the city has responsibility for it. We have...
Who was the vendor?
Excuse me? It was a GE radio system.
Okay, it was a GE.
Put in by Electrocom Communications.
Okay, what was the value of the contract 15 years ago?
15 years ago, we paid $52 million for everything. I think but that was $1976.
Did that include?
So that included computer-aided dispatch, all the radio systems, mobile data terminal, and a dispatch center.
Did that include change orders?
Yes, it did.
So it was $52 million total package in $1976?
Actually, there was a large change order that came subsequent to that, so it was around $60-some million probably that we paid.
So approximately $60 million in 1976 dollars.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, in regards to the present contract, when the present contract is completed and all the work is done, that will be 42 months from the execution of the contract? Is that what?
We hope it's going to be sooner, but yes.
42 months at the farthest or less?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When we've had similar issues come before the CNR committee in regards to Department of Water and Power technology that's out there, that there was provisions built into the contract that if the items that we were purchasing under the Department of Water and Power, if better technology became available during the course and the scope of the contract, the city had a right to reopen negotiations to see whether or not we could upgrade in order that by the time the contract was fully completed, the merchandise that we had purchased would already be 4 years old.
Right.
What type of similar safeguards are built into this contract?
We have a couple of safeguards. It's not only the right of the city, but it is a requirement by the vendor himself to come forward with any technological changes that have come up, any improvements. And that is why the change order process can be very, very positive. A lot of times these technological changes can be cheaper, and they have the responsibility to come forward, let us know that. We assess that to see if the city wants to move forward with that. So that is a provision in the contract that is a requirement.
Okay. And then the final question that I would have is that at the end of this contract, or I believe that the system that we're working on now is how many years old?
Well, we've had the radios in since 1983.
Okay, so
just the voice radio system. That's just one component that we're talking about today.
Okay, so what was the value of the voice radio component when we purchased it? The one that we're using now?
I think it was probably around $6 to $10 million. It was much different technology in those days, but around $6 million.
Okay, so the equipment that we are contemplating purchasing today would have an average life expectancy of how many years?
We're hoping it's going to be 15 years.
Okay. The batteries included in this, Mrs. Walters? Little Edith, did you want to say something? You've been so quiet.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I'm interested in this 110-day guarantee, and says that we can purchase more. You know, on a consumer level, an ordinary consumer level, many consumer outlets make their money on not only selling an appliance, but selling you insurance year after year after year, that you wind up, if you purchase it, you wind up paying more for the insurance than you do for the appliance that you purchase. But they give longer guarantees, purchase guarantees, warranties, to begin with. And I am definitely concerned about only a 110-day guarantee, and that you say that it will be working before it's installed, and if it's not working, we don't have to take it. I'm concerned about what happens on the 111th day and subsequent to that. 110 days is not a long time, or 110-day guarantee, whatever it is. 375, so a year and 10 days.
Yes.
So I'm concerned with what happens on the year and 11th day. After this, I'm also concerned about ignoring the public safety report colleagues and voting only for the budget and finance report. If I vote at all positively on this, it'll be for the public safety report and not for the budget and finance report. I also would like to know, has anybody calculated, looked at, thought about the cost of replacing whatever equipment we're trying to match this Motorola to, and what the cost would be for a whole new system, rather than trying to tag this on to make it match something that we already have?
Maybe I could work backwards and saying that this is not to match something that we already have, that this is a brand new system. This is a radio backbone system that serves to support the radios. So it's a brand new system.
I understand, but I understand that we have this sole supplier or bidder because it's being designed to match radio equipment that we already have. That was one of the impediments in getting anybody else to bid on it.
No, the issue is we asked this to be bid to a standard. Anybody could have bid to that standard, and Motorola was the bidder. So it wasn't to a radio, it was to a standard.
But the standard being established by equipment we already have.
You're probably assuming that because we have a handheld radio, we had to have a certain type of backbone to...
Well, I'm not assuming anything. I'm looking at the report, at the letter from the city attorney to Mrs. Chick, where that is mentioned.
They should be the ones that tell us the technical expertise.
Mr. Alarcon?
Which questions?
Mr. Alarcon?
Council members, I would like to try and clarify a couple of things, because I don't think this is an issue of whether or not, for some council members who are going to vote no against the system, that's their option. For those, the vast majority, I believe, who support moving forward with the contract, it's a distinction between how we hold the contract accountable to be performed. I want to be clear. As it stands, I believe that the Budget and Finance Committee report, as amended by Councilmember Bernsen, provides greater accountability than the method recommended by Councilmember Chick. I will vote for either one. Let's be clear. We have to move forward. Let's focus on moving forward with the contract. That's the most important thing. And let me tell you why I think the Budget and Finance Committee report holds the contract more accountable. And that's because it requires that the City Council get involved not only with the amended version budget of Hal Bernsen, which applies, by the way, to both committee reports now, which requires that at $50,000 changes, that we must be notified and have the option to Prop 5 it. But at $100,000, they must come back to council to get approval. And that's why I believe that the Budget and Finance Committee report holds us more accountable to manage this contract.
600 million.
600,000.
Pardon me?
600,000.
It's 100,000. Read it. It's 100,000. And then the Public Safety Committee report, which I'll support if we don't pass the Budget and Finance Committee report, does not require them to come back at $100,000. The bottom line is that in the report it says that the Police Commission has authority up to $100,000. After that, it has to come to City Council. That's what it says.
Then we don't have it. We don't have it on.
Okay.
Yeah, it says not to exceed 100 or collectively exceed $600,000 without city council approval. But
Can't exceed 100,000.
100,000 per shot and 600.
Mrs. Chick?
In terms of constantly invoking this phrase, have confidence in the chief, I really would like to reconceptualize the importance of the issues before us. We can, and I can, disagree with a recommendation of the chief of our police department and still have confidence in him that he's doing an excellent job. And I think we need to be careful about basing our decisions on, do we have confidence in a general manager? This is about our not abdicating our responsibility. And it seems to me in the final analysis, it's the elected officials in this city who are responsible to the public, to the voters, to the taxpayers. This is their money. Councilmember Misikowski asked a question about what's been going on with the Technical Steering Committee, and I hope it was clear by the answer that the Technical Steering Committee hasn't been empowered enough and hasn't perhaps had the right level staff people on there. And the whole point of empowering and raising the level and accountability of the steering committee is saying we want to hold our experts accountable. We don't want to micromanage everything, but we want better communication going back and forth. If we're going to micromanage, it seems to me that asking for the council to have final say in change orders of $50,000 and over is going a step further than I was suggesting. I am relying on the steering committee to FYI the Public Safety Committee and all council members if there is anything that comes before them that seems a problem, either a change order in scope, a delay, an overrun in cost, a whole variety of things. That's the whole point. There are so many areas here that we could question, including the protections, and I really believe we need to do a much better job going forward on all future contracts and maybe seek to have expert outside legal counsel in how to negotiate contracts like they do in the private sector, a lesson I thought we learned in the arena negotiations. So I find it quite amazing that there are still some of my colleagues who seem to want to rely on the commission or on the department when what we've seen, and by the way, in terms of delay, I want to make, just let me finish and then I'm done, with months of hard work on behalf of this council. I think we do need to scrutinize these kinds of contracts because we have a terrible track record. We're talking about going to the public and asking them for more of their taxpayer dollars, for another bond measure, for LAPD. Read your newspaper today about what's going on the Prop 2 contract on the driver training and how one of the big contractors has defaulted. And now we're going after it on a bond. Mr. Ferraro, just 30 seconds more. It's very rare that I ask to go over my time, and I realize that's what I'm asking.
Several times a day, Mrs. Chick.
In terms of the timing here, The Public Safety Committee has been scrutinizing this for 70 days. It took the police department over 2 years to bring this particular contract back to Public Safety Committee. For 2 years on this FOC contract, they have been negotiating with Motorola, trying to get the scope and the cost down. The MDT contract that is still not finalized, 2 years they've been talking about a change order. It is insulting for anyone to imply that the City Council, doing its due diligence and playing out its responsibility, has held up a contract that has been tied up in knots
Mrs.
within
Chick,
this
please.
department for years. Thank you.
Mr. Alatorre.
In an effort to try and depersonalize this issue, and maybe we can get to the real issue, Mr. Chief, maybe you can tell me, I think you have heard from some members about their feeling about a need for oversight. Let us develop and let us look at this issue in terms of a partnership. And I'd like to ask you, as the chief, and I'm not the chief, so I'm not trying to tell you how to run your department. So what I'd like to find out is if you see a method to resolve and move this issue forward, because see, the issue is going to get lost, and the real issue is getting a product for the members of your department. And it's oversight, it's everything else. But I'd like to ask you, is there an oversight, a partnership that you could see working to meet your needs, and in listening to some of the members of the council on their feel for a need for oversight? So maybe instead of me trying to define it, maybe there can be a meeting of the minds so that you feel comfortable in your responsibilities as the chief to run that department and to make the best decisions possible for that department.
Thank you very much. What I would believe, there is a need of oversight, but that we also have to keep in mind that we have to deliver this product. There's a safety issue to the officers. We also know that the only company that bid on this contract was Motorola. To go back and rebid it would not appear feasible because it appears there's no one else in the market for this product. To go forward at this time is important because we have seen that the system has failed twice in the last couple of months. We also feel comfortable that most of the issues that would have delayed the contract after we let it have been resolved before we've gotten here today. That's what's taken up the 2 years of time. So that as we develop this radio system, once the implementation phase goes forward, we believe it will be a very smooth process. The other issue I think is important is that as we look at the current oversight, and the Technical Steering Committee has been in place for a couple of decades, it's the primary leakage to the City Council and the Mayor as to concerns about whether there are difficulties on a certain system. What we've seen over the last 2 years is that Technical Steering Committee did not fulfill its responsibility, and to give it now even greater responsibility does not appear to be the answer. It has always been, in my judgment, and in my 30 years of dealing with different projects, that it is far better to have a system in which the program manager delivers the technical and responsibilities and the operational responsibility, and the department that's going to receive the service is the one that is responsible to the council and to the citizens of this city to deliver that product. The technical steering people are there for a completely different process to ensure that there's continuity amongst all the departments and understand the technical ramifications as these systems are put in place. We should not merge the two. We should keep them separate, and we should also ensure that the Technical Steering Committee brings forth independent reports to the council to make them aware of our progress, just as we bring forth information to our commission.
The President of the Police Commission, Ms. Perez.
Yes, as I hear the questions and comments, I can tell you that the Police Commission shares your concerns, And as I reflect back on 5 years of being on different commissions, I have been through these conversations where many contractors have delayed and wrangled with the city. However, I caution the City Council at this point that whatever level of scrutiny that they impose upon the department may be false comfort and have unintended consequences. It is a real concern to me that you continue to burden the department when the benefit may not be what you think it is. I think that we all very much want a higher level of scrutiny, a higher level of review, but it has to be meaningful, and perhaps it is something that the steering committee should take on in terms of modifying its role so that it is them who are penalized. And speaking, coming from the private sector, this contract looks a lot like construction contracts. Your safeguards are in the withholding amount. And so, and also you have work delivered, and you can withhold payment for a period of time until that equipment and works and is actually properly working. So I think it is really the responsibility both of the steering committee and the department to ensure that as progress is made, that they document that progress has in fact been made. It sounds like it hasn't worked that way in the past, and I think that we need a city attorney to be vigilant on these kinds of contracts. They've been very good with the Commission on Contracts, and I think the kind of vigilance that they've given us is critical on such a large contract, and I think Motorola has heard us loud and clear that any misstep will be brought back to a number of bodies. So I think all this discussion has served a very good purpose. And you can bet that the Police Commission will also scrutinize on a regular basis the progress or lack thereof, and ask Motorola to come before and explain any lack of progress.
Thank you. Mrs. Walters?
Thank you, Mr. President. One, I didn't get the answers to the questions I asked before, and I too want to say that this voting up or down on this contract is not voting up or down on the chief. What it is saying there's a lack of confidence in this contract. And I understand that Motorola was the only company that bid on this, and that's what I was referring to before, the letter that the city attorney had issued in response to some questions that were raised. The standard here was for it to match handheld radio equipment that the department already had, which I believe was Motorola equipment. The question still stands as to whether any alternative was examined that would have required all new equipment, including the handheld radios. What was the cost of that over this? And what was the reason, if it was not looked at, what was the reason for not looking at it?
Yeah, why don't you try that?
Okay.
Could we-
Number one, we started this effort with the handheld contract back in about 1991, and we have about 8,000 of those portables now in place. We did not see that it was a prudent thing to do to go back out and totally replace all of those handheld radios. We spent over $22 million with them, on them, and in today's environment, we got a very good price on those. They could be upwards of $44 million. So we had a resource in the department that is not old technology. It happens to be technology that will also serve well on this brand new digital backbone that we have. So there was some concern that the backbone project support these handheld radios. So you have a $44 million potential investment that we did not want to throw away. Now, I did say that we did not say that nobody could bid. And I think the city attorney in his letter to Ms. Chick said that there were areas in that RFP that said that we had a standard we wanted people to bid to.
I didn't suggest that you said that nobody could bid.
Yeah.
I'm merely stating that only one company did bid. And you tell me that these radios you've had since 1991, 1990, whatever the date was, the technology market is moving at very, very rapid speed, such that I believe the life of a computer, for example, a PC is considered to be about 3 years. So if you have technology that was extant in the early 90s, it very possibly is out of date by this time, even though you spent the $22 million on it.
It is not out of date. We initiated that contract. Those radios didn't come in for several years, so we've only had them in the field for about 3 years. And radio technology is not the same as computer technology. That technology lasts and is more, has a longer life than computer technology. It does not change that much. So these radios are very viable today. They're very viable in the future. They're going to support our
Mrs.
existing
Walters.
analog backbone as well as the new digital backbone that's going to be coming in. So we have a very, very viable product that we have purchased for this city.
Mr. Holden?
Mr. President, I was going to move the previous question, but I got to say...
Prepare the
I said I was
roll on the
going
previous
to.
question.
No,
Tabulate the vote.
Mr. President.
Mr. Holden, you want to keep the debate open?
No, I was going to, I
Tabulate
said,
the
wait a
vote.
minute, whoa, I said I was going to do that. That's not the same
Your
as that I
time is,
do.
the
No,
previous
I want
question-
to commend the chief, wait a minute now, you back
previous
off. I want to commend the chief for really stepping up to the plate when it was needed to chastise
Yeah, he remembers all
Motorola.
that, Nate.
You really did. Because think where this contract would have gone had he not done that. That's
Where would
number
it-
one. Number two, Mr. President, let's just let me use
Mr.
up
Holden,
time.
you said you were going to move the previous question, and you did.
No, Mr. President, please. So therefore, what I'm saying, if he had not done that, what it really does mean, though, is that you're playing with fire, and if you do, sometimes you get burned. What is the intent of the other side of on the negotiating table? Or they intend to deal with us fairly and squarely and above board? I don't think so, because the chief caught them with their hands in the cookie jar, and he exposed them to all the members of the city council and to the public. Now, we need this communication system, yes. We need one delivered on time and within specification, yes. But in order to have that, we have to have this contract tightened up, because we know who we're negotiating with. They can cut a corner anytime they want to, and if you don't have your eyes open, you won't see it. And if you're not paying attention, you can lose. So I would say to you that I personally would have to not go forward today. I just learned one other thing too. I was going to move the previous question, but I got to tell you, I learned that they had one African-American subcontract, and they even dropped him after they approved it 2 years ago. Now, this is going a little too far. After 209 passed, we can do what we want to do. I don't think the city ought to be in position to support that kind of arrogant attitude.
All right. Okay, Mr. Holden, your time is up.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
President.
Burnson.
Previous question on the entire matter.
Mr. Burnson moved the previous question. Any objections to that? We already passed it once, but okay. What do we have before we have some amendments? What are those?
Yes, Mr. President. I have two amendments right now. Councilman Burnson wishes to amend either A or B, so you would take his first. Then you have the question of whether to substitute by Councilman Alatorre the Budget and Finance for the Public Safety
Let's vote on
Committee.
Mr. Burnson's motion.
Then you have the Chicks amending motion to the Public Safety.
Okay.
Mr. Burnson's
Okay,
motion.
Councilman Burnson's motion is that the Police Commission immediately notify the council of any action taken on change orders of $50,000 or more, and that such action by the Commission not become final for 5 days until Council has an opportunity to review the action and respond within a 2-week period. That's Councilman Bernson's motion, seconded by Alarcon.
Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes, 3 noes.
That is approved.
All right. Now you have the
Next.
question of whether to substitute the Budget and Finance Committee report for the Public Safety Committee.
Well, wait. Well,
You have 2 committee reports before you. They're
yeah,
both
and I
different.
asked that we move, I made
You
the last.
moved the Budget and Finance, correct, but you
Right.
have to substitute the Budget and Finance for Public Safety because it
Right.
was already
All right.
moved.
All
So
right,
this is
prepare
on the
the
question
roll.
of whether to substitute.
Substitute. I asked for an aye vote.
Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
4 ayes, 10 noes.
All right, that failed.
Now you have the amending motion by Councilmember Chick, seconded by Fuhr, to amend Recommendation 3B, which would delete the $20,000 amount and insert the following: over the amount of $50,000 or more, or when any significant changes to the scope of the contract are required on this and all other future Prop M funded contracts.
Is that similar to Mr. Bernson's? All right, prepare the roll on that. Tabulate the vote.
13 aye, 1 no.
That is approved. And now we have,
Now you have the Public Safety Committee report as amended by Burnson and Chick before you.
Burnson and Chick. All right, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 aye, 4 noes.
That is approved. Forthwith on that item. Next item.
Special one, Mr. President, was introduced this morning by Councilmember Miskowski, seconded by Hernandez. I understand that the councilwoman will explain the findings on the need to act.
Mr. President, the need to act on this is a matter affecting a state issue that's going to go on the ballot in June.
Could we have a quiet in the council chamber, please?
We just became aware of some change in the staff language. This is an $800 million bond park acquisition, and it very much favors Northern California. And so what this motion does is to say that the city would support this if the state acts by Friday, which is their deadline to put this on the ballot, if it includes and restores at least $25 million in allocation for the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, and an additional $25 million be added, which would be earmarked for the Los Angeles and the San Gabriel rivers.
Got to vote on the findings first. Gail, we vote on the findings first?
Yes, on the findings.
All right, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 aye.
That is approved. Now we have the matter before us.
There's one amendment.
Ms. Galanter, you want to be heard on this?
If I had a microphone, I'd like to offer an amendment. It's not in the actual moving part of the motion that there's a discussion about Northern California, but the Coastal Conservancy, which is one of the examples offered as evidence that all the money's going to Northern California, in fact, has been very helpful to us in funding projects in the city of Los Angeles and elsewhere in Southern California as well. So my amendment is that the city support the restoration of money to the Santa Monica Mountains, but that we specifically not be objecting to the allocations that have been made, the other allocations that have been made in the bill. I don't want us to be in a position where we are saying, let's take the money away from those specific agencies. I think that that's what the legislature was elected to do, and frankly, I think the Coastal Conservancy is going to need that money because I have designs on some of it for projects down here that don't happen to be in the Santa Monica Mountains, but in fact, they've helped us with Venice Beach, which gets the largest number of visitors of any facility, any tourist attraction in the city, although unless the Getty's beating us out. And we need that money as well. So the amendment is that we specifically not be opposing those allocations.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, I did have a chance, because I was so concerned about this, to talk to some legislators in Sacramento yesterday, and this is a very good thing for us to do. They are worried about this for more reasons than just the ones that we're talking about here, but I do think these are important areas to talk about too. There really is virtually no money, whether it's north or south, in the current bill to deal with any urban issues in parks. It's all suburban and rural areas, and so it leaves out all urban areas, and so they intend to take a look at a whole urban area strategy before this leaves the Assembly or the Senate. But I do want to support this, and thank you for bringing it forward, and I agree with my colleague on the, I agree also that the Coastal Conservancy is not our problem, but it is was basically introduced to take care of this headwaters issue, which the governor promised the private sector he would take care of by simply paying the money. Then all of it falls
Okay,
from
so
there.
let's take the money down here, but we can take it out of there with that agency.
Mr. Fuhrer?
Well, I am concerned about the impact, Ruth, of your amendment on the river, because I think that all of us, or at least the vast majority of us, share a vision of the LA River being a centerpiece of recreational and wildlife here in the city. There's the prefatory language in the motion, then there's the moving clause. The moving clause is limited to adding 25 for the Conservancy and 25 for the LA and San Gabriel rivers.
It's only the introductory stuff that I have a problem with, but with the introductory stuff attached to that moving clause, it looks like we're saying take the money back from these agencies in order to put it in the Santa Monica
I would
Mountains.
support a motion that called for $25 million for each of the two entities delineated in the moving clause. I don't care about the preparatory language one way or the other, but I would not want us to be on record as anything other than favoring infusing money into projects along the LA River. So,
the Santa Monica Mountains is not quite the same thing as the LA River either.
No, I understand. I'm saying that both the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy and the LA River we ought to be supporting an infusion of $25 million for each of those things.
My amendment
is to be sure it is not taken from the Coastal
is that we
Conservancy.
not by implication be saying let's take the money for the
that's
part
fine.
we are moving back from that. So I just want to be explicit that we're not, or else I just want to get rid of the prefatory part.
Yeah, that's fine. But we're saying the same thing about where the money should go.
Yeah,
though,
no,
right?
I'm not objecting to any of that. I'm objecting to pulling it away from specifically an organization that is helping us fund things in some parts of the urban area. So the simplest way to do it is probably just to drop the prefatory paragraph, the second paragraph in the beginning. Just take that out, and then...
I support that. That's fine.
Is that okay? All right, so I changed my motion, so we're just eliminating paragraph 2 here.
Okay. Ms. Akowski, do you want to? Okay, we have that special one as amended. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 aye.
Forthwith on that. Next item.
This is a time for comments from the public on non-agenda items.
We have Roberto and Joseph Severa. Roberto, did you want to be heard? Speak your piece.
You can talk. Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. President and the Concilio Consuls. I need somebody to translation me because my English not very well.
I will.
Señor Presidente y señores del Concilio.
President
Muy buenas tardes.
and members of the board, good morning.
Una vez más nos hacemos a saber aquí ante la opinión pública
One more time we come to the public opinion
nuestros problemas,
Our
serios
problems
problemas que hemos venido sufriendo
that we've been suffering,
los miembros de UTI
the members of UTI,
que nos hemos incorporado a la compañía Belcap.
which have incorporated to Belcap Company.
Nuestra infinidad de problemas nunca se nos han acabado y han venido surgiendo y aplastándonos poco a poco.
We haven't finished with our problems, and and we've been suffering little by little.
los cuales en estos momentos pues ya estamos en un caos.
At this moment, we are in a chaos
Que ya es muy difícil de subsistir
It is very difficult to subsist
en esta unión de taxistas independientes
At
al
this-
cual pertenecemos.
at this duty company.
Los señores managers y 4 o 5 personas que manejan esta compañía la han estado manejando a su modo y a su antojo.
The managers of 4 or 5 people that manage this company, they've been doing whatever they want.
Las cuales personas pues nos han estado hostigando y allanando nuestras propiedades y en cierta forma no nos han dejado trabajar y hacer realidad nuestro sueño que
They-
un día nos dieron la ciudad de Los Ángeles
Espérate.
unos permisos para trabajar libremente.
They've been hostigating us and don't let us work freely with the permits that were given to us to work freely.
Esta realidad que obtuvimos estos permisos para trabajar como
This re-
taxi driver.
This reality that we obtained these permits to work as a taxi drivers.
Okay, thank you. We have, Mr. Silvera wants to be heard. Joseph Silvera and Oswaldo Guidos. You give your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Oswaldo Guido. I'm a board member in Bell Cab, just elected. And this is kind of informational matter to this city council. Our problem has been in your hands before, and back in August 19 last year, this city council approved because all the problems in Bell Cab regarding the governmental issue and board members' status, this city council approved us, a separate group, to have our office working in downtown, if you recall, and recognize our management. At the same time, this city council ordered an investigation inside Bell Cab for some matters that were apparently in violation of our city franchise. Up to now, something has changed in the company, and we are back again suffering the same issues. Last week, we were taking out while we were trying to reach an agreement with the management company. We were placed out of the service from the airport. And as far as we understand, tomorrow we have a deadline to comply for the condition that the management wants to place on us in order to go back to the Westwood location. And if it's not, they're going to report to Department of Transportation. The way the things are going, Department of Transportation also is going to take action against us. Now, I today trying to request to this city council that this matter should be taken to the Transportation Committee and should be investigated, because up to today, I don't know if, for example, the investigations has been going through and if it has been a final report back to this city council. I was there on the Transportation Committee about a month ago, and I report more or less what was the condition in Bell Cab. And I said, and Councilmember Alarcon was there, and I said that if those elections or if the things were going the way that they were going, we were going to end up with problems. And this is exactly where we are right now. So I will request this city council if you can take this matter, either delegate it to the Transportation Committee or ask for a report, and also request a report from the Department of Transportation and trying to find out what's going on and if it somehow can help us. Because we're talking for a group right now 65 cabs, but actually we're talking for 150 at least shares in this franchise.
Okay, Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Guidos, Mr. Alarcon, the chairman of the Transportation Committee, said that he would be happy to meet with you after, huh? You're going to meet with them later? Okay, fine. All right. Leonard Shapiro.
I got it now.
Got it?
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk in the media, ladies and gentlemen of the council, about what's a prudent debt limit for the city of LA. There's talk that we owe right now $14 billion with all our agencies, the Department of Water and Power, Harbor, and Airport, as well as the city. And we know that the city controller told us that with a $9.2 billion overall budget, or a $4 billion budget from general sources, that a prudent limit would be 10% of annual expenses. And when we're spending this $9 billion, if we spend more than $400 million, then we're liable to be into some financial trouble. The financial trouble will manifest itself in the fact that if you go over 10%, there's a good likelihood that all the bonding agencies will charge you more. The rate will go up from a favorable rating to an unfavorable rating. Now, Rick Tuttle has warned the city council many times over the past 10 years that we're gradually approaching our debt limit. But because this got too much publicity, a letter to the editor appeared last week, signed by Mr. Alatorre, Mr. Ferraro, John Ferraro, as well as Tuttle, saying he didn't exactly mean what it said. That he understands that the debt limit in the city of LA is administered carefully, and it's monitored, and it's overseen by both the mayor and the city council. Therefore, there's no likelihood that any excessive debt will be run up. But as I pointed out in my column last week, who was monitoring and who was overseeing the city council when they spent $4 billion to build an old-fashioned coal generator in Utah to produce electricity for us, which they admit now is not the proper thing and there was too much money being spent. But who was monitoring it when that money was spent? Who was monitoring the expenditure of $750 million of CRA money, which is backed by the tax property rolls? We still owe $600 million right now. Who was monitoring that as each skyscraper went up? And we decided that we'd spend property tax dollars building skyscrapers and forgetting that the main reason for the existence of Community Redevelopment Agency, the CRA, was we were going to fix up the blighted core of the downtown area. And the downtown area's blighted core on Skid Row, 5th Street, is as bad as it was when you first started improving the CRA. So the money was right down the drain. Who was monitoring it carefully? Who was overseeing where this money was being spent? Who was overseeing the expenditure of $600 million on the convention center, which is losing $40 million every year and liable to be losing more? Who watched that kind of money going out? How do we know if when people are watching so carefully on all these expenditure of hundreds of millions and billions of dollars that it's going to be any different in the future? We know the Coliseum is coming up. We know the sports arena is coming up. We know the City Hall renovation for $300 to $500 million is coming up. We know Parker Center is coming up. We know the big discussion you had on what you're going to do about communications on 911 has been coming up, and it's got to be overseen. And I see how we voted for it. We voted that we're going to continue dealing with an outfit that's 2 years behind in its production schedule on a big contract, and you say you're going to continue to deal with the same outfit because they're going to go and sin no more.
Shapiro, the time is up.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Time is up. Okay, the public hearing comment period is over. Next item.
Motions for posting and referral.
There's no objections, unanimous vote.
The desk is clear, Mr. President.
Anything else before the council? Adjourning motions, would everyone please stand? Everybody in the audience, please stand. Mr. Savernich.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I would like to ask that we adjourn in memory of the following residents of Council District 15 who recently passed away: Marion Honey, Mary Icona, Fred Jafferty, Richard Carr, Stephanie and Vincent Vitale, and that was a very sad incident on the area in the city of Long Beach, heading towards the Vincent Thomas Bridge, where a tractor trailer crossed the double yellow line and killed both the father and his infant daughter, and survived by the survivors being the mother and the son in the car. It is with a degree of sensitivity that the city of Los Angeles is doing everything it can to erect barricades along that piece of street now in order to prevent a future tragedy. Raul Monroy, and finally, Mr. President, members of the council, ask that we adjourn in memory of Robert Goldstone, a former city council member, harbor commissioner, and Rec and Parks commissioner for the city of Redondo Beach, who were resident of San Pedro, survived by his wife Irene, 2 sons George and Robert, and 3 grandchildren.
Mr. Burnson?
Yes, members of the council, this is kind of a sad one for some of us who know Art Pfefferman. His daughter-in-law, Tanya Wyatt Pfefferman, passed away over the weekend. 25 years old, daughter-in-law to Commissioner Art Pfefferman. She's survived by her husband, Michael, and a daughter, Brett Nicole, 6 months old.
Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, you may all have followed the fire in Glassell Park that occurred Sunday night. And I wish that we would adjourn in memory of one of my staff members, 2 sons, Alfred Mayan Aranda, who was 3, and Anthony Mayan Aranda, who was 1. Alfred, their father, is a member of my field staff. And while he was away doing some grocery shopping, a fire broke out in the home, and both of his children died, and his wife is now in critical condition with burns from having tried to save them. And it is a real tragedy we all are feeling, and we'd like to ask that you join us in wishing the speedy recovery of Doreen, and also the recovery, if it's possible, for both of them over the grief and loss of both of their children.
All members on that. Mr. Wax?
Wow. Yes, I have 2. Ellis Cattison, who is a producer, writer, and the brother of a person I formerly worked with in the law firm, Stuart Cattison, and I'd like the council to adjourn in his memory. And Mike Keziah, who was a sportscaster, a broadcaster, producer, writer, the husband of Marilyn Keziah, who some of you may know, and I'd like the clerk to take the information and adjourn in her memory.
Second.
Well,
call the roll. Aye, the council is adjourned.
Mr. President, the